So, and of course, the first thing I saw on Twitter was a bunch of people trying to be apologists for Donald Trump and he's exonerated because they didn't find it. They exonerated him because the jury said that he didn't rape her. Well, they said that he sexually abused her, but they didn't rape her. That's all they focused on. They were like laser focused on the day he didn't rape her. So of course, last night I had to do a fat man rant. I just looked back for, I hadn't done a lot of fat man rants in a while. I started my first one a long time ago, like 2010 might have been my first fat man rant. And there's not a lot of them. I think I've done 6 in the last month and a half. So I've had a lot to rant about recently. And maybe like 4 very recently, like in the last week, maybe. So I did a fat man rant on this one last night. So that's new, and that came up at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I had a full intent on calling into Jeff's show. And I called into Jeff's show this morning, which caused me to name him my Hypocrite of the Week. This week's Hypocrite of the Week is Jeff Crouere. The conservative talk show host will call for impeachment when President Biden is within sniffing distance of someone's hair, but let Donald Trump admit to grabbing people by their genitals, and he'll make excuses, change the subject, or get so high-pitched that only dogs can hear him, and then he'll cut you off so you can't finish your point. To see who next week's Hypocrite of the Week will be, tune in to Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central on Liberal Dan Radio on YouTube and on blogtalkradio.com/LiberalDan. All right, so that's the Hypocrite of the Week, and I posted that to the Patreon about 15 minutes before the show, but it was before the show, so if you're a patron and you happen to be paying attention, you got to hear that 15 minutes early. Otherwise, it's still up there, so you could always play it if you wish, if you want to hear it, if you liked it or whatever. But I didn't think that would be enough for today's show. I didn't think just me saying that he was the Hypocrite of the Week would be enough for today's show, because me just saying that he would get high-pitched, me just tweeting about the fact that I caused him to go to Plaid or whatever, that I got him just so incensed, and that he cut me off and basically hung up on me, and doing a whole bunch of whataboutisms. That wasn't enough. It's not enough for this show to just show. He basically exemplified the experiences that I've dealt with when it comes to arguing with these people on Twitter and when it comes to trying to have discussions about all this crap. So I downloaded and then uploaded my call to Jeff this morning, and now y'all get to hear, it's about 3.5 minutes, because he only let me on for less than 3.5 minutes. This is my call to Jeff, and actually, some of this is just post him hanging up on me, so you get to hear all of his whataboutisms. So, buckle in, kids. This gets, I'd say good, but... Ugh.
Let's get the other side of the political equation. Caller who goes by the handle Liberal Dan is with us. Good morning, sir. Welcome. How are you?
Morning, Jeff. Trump claimed that this woman wasn't his type, but I mean, he was talking about now, because in his deposition he confused the picture of her with Marla Maples, a very attractive woman that he once married and he was clearly attracted to. And remember back in 2016, Trump said that he could just grab people without consent. And, many people said it was just locker room talk.
No, wait. I think that was an interview from 2005 that was reemerged in 2016.
Right. Well, that was 2016. We heard the interview in 2016, and y'all
from 2005.
Okay. We heard it in 2016, Jeff.
Right.
We heard it in 2016, and then in his deposition, he doubled down on that. You heard the deposition where he doubled down on that. He said stars have been doing it for a million years. So he said that he does it in 2005. He said that, and now he said that stars have been doing it. Why would we not believe it when he admits to it and he says that stars are doing it? Now, I'm not convinced that Trump will ultimately have to pay. I believe that he can appeal this all the way up to the activist conservative Supreme Court. I give them about a 50-50 shot of ruling it in his favor if it gets appealed all the way to the Supreme Court. But here's the thing.
Yeah, well, it should be. So they said he didn't. The jury said he didn't rape her, right? He wasn't charged on rape.
But the jury said that he sexually abused her. Is sexual abuse okay, Jeff?
No, it's not. But if she lied, but she said, but hold on. She said, did she not say that he raped her?
She said.
Did she not say that he raped her?
And they said that they did not have enough. So
is the jury saying she lied about that?
No. They're just said the jury is saying this is how the legal system works. The jury said that they did not have enough information to say that it's more likely than not to say that there was a rape. But they did have enough information.
Of course not. Of course not.
Were
there any eyewitnesses? Were there any eyewitnesses to this? Were there any eyewitnesses to this? Were there any eyewitnesses to this attack? Do we even know Donald Trump was in that department store? I mean, he says he's never. He says he's never met her. He says he's never doesn't even know who she is. I mean, this is from 27 years ago. Are you kidding me? What about Tara Reid? What about the woman who used to work for Joe Biden? When is that going to get a hearing? When is she going to have? Thank you, Liberal Dan. We got to go. When is that woman going to have? Liberal Dan, we got to go. Thank you. When is that woman going to have a court case? When is that woman going to get a hearing? When is she going to be taken seriously? I'm so tired of this double standard where everything is thrown at Donald Trump. Donald Trump has to deal with all these ridiculous charges. Donald Trump has to deal with all these investigations. Donald Trump has to deal with all these prosecutors. And Democrats can get away with whatever they want to do. Bill Clinton raped a woman. Was he ever charged in that case? I certainly believe Juanita Broaddrick 1,000%. And what happened to Bill Clinton? Absolutely nothing.
Okay. So if it's a double standard that Donald Trump has to deal with ridiculous charges, does that mean that he's saying that Bill Clinton should have had to deal with ridiculous charges too? So he's admitting that that Bill Clinton had to deal with ridiculous charges? Is that what he's saying? Come on. It's not. And here's the thing: he didn't let me have my full say on his show, but I let him have his full say on my show because, I strive to be better than that. I strive to let people have their full say, even just because, partially I like to give people enough rope to hang themselves. But he, all full of whataboutisms because, if it's wrong, look, if he would have let me go on, if he would have let me go on with that conversation, I would have been like, all right, if the statute of limitations is not exhausted when it comes to Tara Reid, and if Tara Reid wants to file a civil lawsuit against Joe Biden once he leaves office, she should be able to do so. And if she can convince a jury that it is more likely than not that he did something inappropriate and illegal to her, whatever, it violated her body autonomy and caused her harm, and that to the point where he should have to pay her damages, then he should have to pay her damages. Simple as that. That's how the legal system works. And if she can't prove that is more likely than not that he did something that would cause her harm that would require him to pay her damages, then he won't have to pay her damages. Same thing with Juanita Broaddrick. I mean, I don't think that there's anything in the statute of limitations. I don't think the statute of limitations would allow that for Juanita Broaddrick. The only reason that Donald Trump is in this, in the first place, the only reason that E. Jean Carroll was able to sue right now and win this lawsuit is because Donald Trump can't keep his mouth shut. Donald Trump is incapable of keeping his mouth shut. And even a conservative person on Twitter that I was debating this was like, I have to concede you that point. I mean, I made that good of a point. They're like, you know what? You're right. And I'm like, hey, I got a Trump supporter to tell me that I'm right. I'll take that victory. Because here's what happened. The way that they wrote the law in New York was that if you defamation is the word I was looking for earlier. If like you defame somebody about something, about like a previous crime, or a previous action, and even if the previous action, like the statute of limitations for that action has expired, if you defame somebody about that, basically my understanding of the civil law is that the statute of limitations kind of opens back up. So she writes this book detailing what happened to the best of her recollection, and he comes out, and if he wouldn't have said a word, if he would have just said no comment, if he could have just said like, I don't have any recollection, I don't remember this person, and I don't believe what she's saying to be true, and just left it at that. If she would just left it at that and not defamed her and not done what he does with everybody else, which is just burn everything down like Sherman did to Atlanta, which is his tactic for everything. He just has to lash out and just crumble everything to the ground. If he would have just said, I don't know her, I don't remember her, I don't remember ever meeting her, and I don't think that this is a true statement, and that's it. If he would have just left it at that, there would have been no defamation. And if there would have been no defamation, she would have not have been able to bring the other civil cases back up. She would have not been able to have brought the civil lawsuit. And despite him being a scummy person, and despite his, I believe that he did it. Absolutely. I believe when she says that he did that. I would believe her regardless of whether or not he said, in that Inside Edition, tape. I would believe that he did it regardless. I especially believe that he did it because we have video or audio of him saying that he could move in on people and and grab them by the hoo-ha. I especially believe that if she's saying that he grabbed her without consent, and he admits that he grabs people without consent, and then he doubles down and says, oh, well, the stars do that. Yeah, stars do that. They do it all the time. For millions of years, stars have been grabbing people without consent. Then guess what? I believe that he grabs people without consent. And then do I believe that he didn't know her? That he wasn't attracted to her? No, because he said the picture of her from way back when made her look like Marla Maples. Oh, he looks like Marla Maples. So no, I absolutely believe that he did exactly what she said he did. But if he would have shut up, she couldn't have brought the case. She wouldn't have had a defamation suit, so she couldn't have brought the other charges as well. Or not charges, but the other civil cases or civil torts, I guess, as well. There would have been no civil trial. There would have been no damages. There would have been no jury trial. It would have been in the news. There would have just been a book. And all there would have been was a report in the book. And that would have been it. And he wouldn't be out $5 million and whatever legal fees he had to pay to defend himself in the civil case. But he can't keep his mouth shut. Furthermore, let's say that go on further on into the deposition. If he would have kept his mouth shut in the deposition and said nothing about the person in the picture, but instead he says, "Oh, that's Marla," instead of "That's Marla Maples," by basically saying that was Marla Maples instead of saying, "Oh, I don't know who that is." I don't know who that is. Who is that? I can't really recognize her. If he would have just said from the beginning, "I don't know who that is," and they would just let them tell him who that was, instead of just coming out and saying who it was, They wouldn't have been able to use that against him. Play dumb. I mean, he is dumb. He could have played, but he's not smart enough to play dumb. That's the thing. He's too dumb to play dumb. How dumb do you have to be too dumb to play dumb? It's ridiculous. Furthermore, how dumb do you have to be to double down on the grab him by the hoo-ha thing? And how bad's your attorney? You're in the middle of a deposition and somebody asks you about the grab him by the hoo-ha comment and you double down on it, and you everybody who's a conservative and Republican, most of the people who are your supporters would buy the whole, it was just locker room talk. Now, I never bought it was the whole locker room talk. I've never been in a locker room where I've said things like, oh yeah, I would grab people without consent. And if I was in a locker room around people who was saying I would grab people without consent, I would leave that area at least. I would not hang out with those people. And as I was talking about, what was it? Was it the other show that I was talking about, the fraternity thing? With the rape whistle thing or whatever that I was talking about? I forget was that a video that I did? I brought that up the other day. I don't remember when I brought that up, but I brought that up the other day. And there was a fraternity that brought it up, and they were joking about, I don't know if they were joking or not, but they were making rape jokes or whatever. Like, oh, it's locker room talk. I don't believe that was locker room talk. I believe that they were, horrible people. And so I left because I don't hang out with people like that. But they apparently do hang out with people like that. So, but when people, as they say, was it Maya Angelou that says that? I want to say it's Maya Angelou. When people tell you who they are, you believe them. So when Donald Trump tells us who he was, which is somebody who grabs people without consent, we believe that he grabs people without consent. So I believed him when he said it the first time. All he had to do in the deposition was say, I was just joking. It was just locker room talk. I was just kidding around. I wasn't serious about that. That's all he had to say. I mean, maybe he didn't mean it, but how do you prove that he didn't mean it? How do you prove that he wasn't being honest about that? You can't. All they had to do was just say, I was just joking around. But we have evidence from before. I guess you could have pulled up the video from before when Donald Trump said, I don't kid around. So he has said that before, that he doesn't joke around. So he could have used that against him. I would have used that. If I would have seen a deposition of him saying that I was just joking around about the whole grab him by the hoo-ha thing, I would have then pulled up the video of him saying, I don't kid, and saying, well, I thought he said he doesn't joke around, he doesn't kid. And now he's saying he jokes around. Which one's which? Now he's a liar. Well, we already knew he's a liar. But I would have brought that up, and I'm sure if any of those attorneys in the deposition would have known about that, they would have brought that up too. But he's too stupid to keep his mouth shut. So he doubled down on his stupidity, and he said, oh, yeah. Stars have been doing that for 1,000,000 years. And I'm a star. So that's him admitting. That's him. So there are, hopefully, now, I don't know how many of the millions of poorly educated people who are going to turn around and say, oh, well, I'm not going to support Donald anymore because I thought he was just kidding about grabbing those women by their genitalia. But now that he said that he grabbed him by the genitalia and a second time, I believe that he actually does grab the women by the genitalia. And, maybe he's telling the truth and that's not right. So I think I'm going to go with someone else instead. So I just don't think that's right of him, because at the end of the day, I really am a Christian, and that's not a Christian thing to do. So I'm going to go with someone who I think really is someone who really, holds on to true Christian values, and not someone who's going to be molesting people and grabbing them by their genitalia without their consent, especially outside of the bonds of holy matrimony. So I think I have to give up, and I'm gonna have to burn all my MAGA gear, because I don't think I could take voting for him anymore, because I think that would just be wrong. I don't have any faith that they'll do that, not one bit, but not one bit at all. And I'll catch up back with the chat in a second, because I've been just flowing. But maybe your middle class, upper middle class, suburban housewife types who vote Republican because their husbands want them to, or whatever, and who or vote Republican because they like the money part of it. Maybe they'll be like, I vote Republican, but I just don't think I can support Donald anymore, because I wouldn't want to be treated like that. I wouldn't want people grabbing me by my genitals. So I think I'm going to have to vote for someone else. I think I might have to vote for that, DeSantis guy, because I don't like Disney anyway. So I'm going to vote for that DeSantis guy, because he has also the thing where he doesn't like the gays, but he's not grabbing people by the genitalia. So I'm going to vote for him. Or something like that. So, who knows? Maybe he'll start to lose some support. Who knows? I don't have any faith in that. I'm sure he'll still win the primary. But then maybe in the general election he'll lose himself more people, so that Joe Biden will be able to win clearly and win even more votes, so Donald Trump can cry some more. Oh, they stole even more. They stole even more votes. I'm going to have to call even more people and ask them to steal the election from me again. Oh,